This video will go over labels in JavaScript. Labels are a way to gain a little more control over for and while loops. They're more useful for for loops, I think, but you could use them for both. But let's make an example. So, let's make a double for loop. This labels, how they work is they let you access specific for and while loops if you have like multiple of them, right? So let's say you had some condition where if both Q and I were even, you want this loop to just break. Now, how would you do that? Well, the easiest way is with a label, I think. So you can literally label this like for loop 1. If you wanted to, you could label this for loop 2. And, if you wanted to see, okay, if Q checks if there's no remainder, if you're dividing by 2, that means it's even. If there's no remainder when dividing by 2 for Q, and then there's no remainder when dividing by 2 for I, then so by log I Q, and then break for loop 1. So let's try it out. 0, 0. And let's say we started at 1, 2, 2. So, yeah. You can also even do the continue keyword, which basically just goes to the next item in the list. And boom, got all the answers. It's pretty cool. Now, you can also use this for item in array loops. Let me show you what I mean. So constant array equals for. Let's say we wanted to loop over every single character for every single item in this list. And when we find the letter E, then return the word that letter was in, and then, yeah, break it. Or you know what, not even return. Let's just count how many times. Or I don't know. We'll make something. So, for item in array. For R in array item. Then just to double check this works. Perfect. Let's label this word. Let's label this character. And let's say, so how this works if you don't know, it just says like for each of these values, let that be equal to item. And then for each of these characters, let that be equal to char for each item. Now, note that these are numbers. These aren't the actual values themselves. These are like the index numbers. So that's why you have to put the value inside of the original array. Let's say every time there's the letter E, it continues, I guess. I don't know. It goes to the next word, yeah. Yeah, let's just say there only needs to be one instance of the letter E. So once you find that instance, yeah, you're just looking for a character. As soon as you find the first in the instance of that character, then yeah. So continue. And let me just let's try this out. Apple cherry. Boom. So since there's no E in the word banana, it'll never actually log out banana. So yeah. So we actually just did a simple like letter check for every value in this function, or I mean array. And if we wanted to, we could make a function. Find letters in, or no, find items that in letters. We can do array it letter. Let letters. Boom. This could be boom. Add push. And then return this. Then we can do any letter we want. So, A, E, I, U, and I'll put Y in. Why not? I should probably console log these log. And boom. So we just made a little function using labeled statements to make our code more readable. So yeah, that's pretty much what labeled statements do. They just allow you to access specific for loops while you're in a multi-dimensional for loop, which is just like a double for loop, a triple for loop, whatever. Just makes it easier to access for loops. And while loops, I'll do a little example of that. 0, 0, 0. While counter 1. While 10. Plus and 2 less than 10 2 plus and let's add if counter 1 plus counter 2 equals 10. Log counter 1 and counter 2, and then continue counter 2. So I guess for a while loop, it's kind of boring. Break. So yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, they just allow you to have control over desired while/for loops in a multi-dimensional while/for loop. So yeah, and you can even combine them if you wanted to. You could put a for loop right here. I'm not going to do that, but yeah, they just allow you to access multi-dimensional for and while loops. So yeah, sub if you want, like if you want.